All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Well, we've gotten a sneak preview of the 2025 MLB season as, of course, the Dodgers and Cubs faced off in a two-game series over in Japan, and both games went to the defending World Series champs. But for everybody else, we're looking at next Thursday as far as being opening day around Major League Baseball. And right now, I want to take this time to talk about the American League East. And of course, this was a division that in recent years has been the dominant division in the American League. Was not the case last year. Only two teams finished with a winning record within the AL East. Only two teams made the playoffs. And of course, the race in this division is to overtake the defending American League champions in the New York Yankees, which is going to be easier said than done. Now, in recent years, sans 2024, the American League East has been extremely competitive. Will that once again be the case here in 2025? And as I'm talking about the teams in this division, I'm going to start off with the defending AL East champs. And of course, that would be the New York Yankees. We saw the Yankees go 94 and 68 last year, which is good enough to win this division by 3 games over the Baltimore Orioles. The Yankees won the American League pennant for the first time since 2009, but of course, they fell short in their quest to win the World Series to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, make no mistake about it, this has been a very interesting offseason in the Bronx. You look at the Yankees. It's a situation they're trying to build off of last year's run to the World Series, of course, and not just building off of it, getting back to the World Series and winning it. But it's going to be easier said than done. Losing Juan Soto, the all-star outfielder to the New York Mets, hurts. But we also saw the Yankees not rest on their laurels, and we also saw the Yankees go out there and make the most of their resources this offseason. Big time signing in picking up former Atlanta Brave lefty Max Fried. It took 8 years and $218 million, but nonetheless, the Yankees are hopeful that if the 31-year-old Fried can stay healthy, his presence as a left-hander will give them some depth in their rotation. And of course, they are hoping for more depth, but they're really going to need Fried to step up this season. Why? Because no Garrett Cole for 2025, as he's going to miss out this season as a result of Tommy John surgery. And that's big for the Yankees because by not having Cole in the rotation, you're talking about a guy who easily accounts for 15 wins and 200 strikeouts each year. Okay. That is not minimal production that you can sit up there and go out there and try to replace. So there's going to be some questions for the Yankees in their rotation, of course. Will or which version of Carlos Rodon are the Yankees going to get in 2025? Is it going to be the guy that they saw in 2023 when he went 3-8 with an ERA near close to 7? Or is it going to be the guy that went 16-9 last year with an ERA just under 4? The Luis Heel injury, that is big for this Yankees rotation as well, as we're talking about a guy who was the American League's Rookie of the Year in 2024. But I like what the Yankees did for their bullpen, picking up reliever Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers. And of course, we're talking about a guy that had a sub 2 ERA during his time in Milwaukee. My one question for Devin Williams: he gave up that series winning or series losing home run to Pete Alonso of the New York Mets last year in the LDS. I've always said relief pitchers in baseball, they're kind of like field goal kickers in the NFL. When they're on, and when they're not, they're not. And I just wonder if there's going to be any residual carryover from that from Williams to 2025. We've got to wait and see. But you look at this lineup, and like I said, you cannot underscore losing Juan Soto enough. But Bringing in a veteran like Cody Bellinger could help the Yankees, and it's important because you have to have protection around Aaron Judge in this lineup. Since leaving the Dodgers a couple of years ago, Bellinger has been looking for that big deal, which has not come to fruition. Had a strong 2023 with the Chicago Cubs. 2024 was not the same case, but lefty, a pull hitter like Cody Bellinger, I think he should be able to fall in love with that short porch at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Also, no more Anthony Rizzo at first base, but then you get yourselves another veteran first baseman with a solid glove. I'm talking about the former MVP in Paul Goldschmidt. Of course, Goldschmidt put up some good numbers to begin his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then, of course, most recently with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I talked about that MVP as he won an MVP with the Cardinals back in 2022. Now, his productivity at the plate has dipped in recent years, but you're still talking about a proven veteran. He's going to be a good locker room guy. And then on top of that, he has a proven glove at first base. And I think that's going to be important. Also, the Yankees have to protect Aaron Judge in that lineup because last year you had Juan Soto balling out of control. And then on top of that, you had a healthy Giancarlo Stanton. And right now, there's a lot of questions once again about Giancarlo Stanton when it comes to injuries. And that's the unfortunate thing about this slugger. When he's on, he's on. But the only thing is him being able to stay healthy. And that is something that, you know, the injury bugaboo has always nagged Stanton throughout his MLB career. Last summer, we saw the Yankees pick up infielder Jazz Chisholm, and he was a big time impact player for the Yankees coming down the stretch. He's back with New York. Let's see if he can have that impact again. There's plenty of questions for this Yankees team. You can't get around that. But, giving veteran manager Aaron Boone an extension, keeping him there, I think is going to help this team as they look to get back to the postseason and once again win this division. Looking at teams that are trying to get back on track, the Toronto Blue Jays, because they were hands down one of, if not the biggest disappointment in MLB for 2024. The previous three seasons saw the Jays win at least 89 games in each of them. They had two trips to the postseason. The expectations were once again there for Toronto last year, but it never came to fruition as they went 74 and 88 and finished in the basement of the AL East. So the first big question for Toronto this year is this going to be it for Vlad Guerrero Jr. as he is set to become a free agent at season's end? Of course, he walked away from negotiations with the Blue Jays basically at the start of spring training, and you know what that means. Guys are looking to ball out, increase their potential payday in the upcoming offseason and take it from there. So I do expect Vlad Jr. to have an MVP caliber season for Toronto. Where's the rest of the offense going to come from for the Blue Jays? They need a healthy Bo Bichette at shortstop. He only appeared in 81 games last season. Big time pickup for the Jays here. They have shown that they are not afraid to try to go out there and spend money. Picking up Anthony Santander from the Baltimore Orioles is huge. We saw him hit 44 home runs for Baltimore last season. We've seen him be one of the better power hitters for the Orioles in recent years. And now you steal him away from division rival. And I think he should be able to fit in with Vlad Jr. in the middle of this lineup for the Jays. The starting pitching for Toronto is going to be key. What are you going to get from Jose Barrios? You got veteran Chris Bassett, who's when he's on, he's on. When he's not, he's not. And then you got Kevin Gausman. And then the very interesting thing here, you bring in a veteran like Max Scherzer. And of course, the question is going to be, what does Scherzer have left in the tank? And it's kind of like what I talked about last night with the San Francisco Giants. We saw them go out there and sign veteran Justin Verlander. And of course, they're not, and a guy like Scherzer, he's not going to be what he was with the Washington Nationals. He's not going to be what he was with the Detroit Tigers. But even if you get half of that, while him also being able to be a leader for this Jays pitching staff, I think that's going to be big for them because they're talking about Max Scherzer, who's going to be 41 years old in July, and he has not made 30 starts in the season since 2021. Also, as far as the Jays pitching staff goes, the return of Alek Manoah. He's on the road back from Tommy John, and of course, he's trying to regain that form that we saw in 2022 when he went 16-7. I talked about how disappointing that Toronto was last season. I think if there was ever a team in this division that needed a strong start to 2025, it's the Jays. Now, you have the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles are one of the younger teams in Major League Baseball. They went 91-71 last year, made the playoffs for the second consecutive year, failed to advance, and also they took a beating in free agency losses. I talked about Anthony Santander going to Toronto. That's a big loss for the Orioles because we're talking about a guy who led this club in both home runs in each of the last couple of years. And now you have that void in your lineup. Also, losing Corbin Burns. And I mean, it was one of those where if you're Baltimore, you knew it was a risk going out there and getting him from the Milwaukee Brewers. He left in free agency, got that big deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and that leaves a hole in their starting rotation. But like I talked about, the youth of the Baltimore Orioles, the rise to stardom for shortstop Gunnar Henderson. You've also got Jackson Holliday, who the Orioles organization is high on. You got first baseman Ryan Mountcastle right there. So, what are these guys going to do? And are they going to step up and put this Orioles lineup on their back? And then you look at their pitching. You have a veteran like Charlie Morton. Grayson Rodriguez won 13 games last year. Will he be able to build off of that? Brandon Hyde has been there for a while, and he's overseen this rebuild. And it's going to be very interesting to see with all of the hits that Baltimore took in free agency if they have what it takes to once again contend for this division title. And speaking of division titles, it's hard to believe, but the Boston Red Sox, they've really been a shell of themselves because 2018 really wasn't that long ago. And of course, that year we saw the Red Sox dominate and they won the World Series. I believe it was their fourth World Series since 2004. But nonetheless, it has been a steady decline for this organization ever since then. They found a way to get to 81-81 last season. And of course, if you're a fan of the Red Sox, you just don't want to see this team finish with a winning record. You want to see Boston get back to the postseason and do some damage. So the Red Sox went out there and they signed former Astros third baseman Alex Bregman, and they are hopeful to have him be at third base and also have an impact in this lineup. And of course, the arrival of Bregman means, you know what? We want to move Rafael Devers. And of course, there was some brushback from Rafael Devers at first, but it looks like he's going to be on board for this position switch. And that's going to be important because he's still one of Boston's best players. This offense was second in the American League last year in batting and third in on base percentage, which is going to be once again important as they try to find a way to get to the postseason. But I think if the Red Sox can find a way to be a playoff team in 2025, their pitching has to improve. We saw Boston go out there and sign veteran pitcher Walker Bueller, excuse me, and we saw how big he was for the Los Angeles Dodgers and helping them win the World Series this past October. You've got Tanner Houck. You also have veteran Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen. How much does the Cuban still have left in the tank? You got a veteran manager and Alex Cora, and I think he's going to find a way to make sure his Red Sox are competitive. But will it be enough for them to win this division and get to the postseason? We got to wait and see. And finally, there's a Tampa Bay Rays. And of course, the 2025 MLB season is going to present some extra hurdles for them to climb over in order to make the postseason for the sixth time in the last 7 years. Why? Because we all know about the damage to the roof of Tropicana Field after the hurricane last fall. And that means that the Rays theoretically are not going to have any home games this season. We're going to see them still playing Tampa, but they're going to use the minor league facility of the New York Yankees. That is going to be very interesting. Okay. But when you think about this Rays organization, pitching, pitching, pitching has always been a strong point of the Rays. Wasn't the case in 2024. Why? Because no Rays starting pitcher was able to finish with a winning record. We saw a lot of injuries for this pitching staff in Tampa Bay. They've got to get healthy. They need a healthy Shane Baz. They need a healthy Taj Bradley. And then you've also got Shane McClanahan returning from Tommy John. Also, where's the offense going to come from for the Rays other than Yandy Diaz? As Tampa was near the bottom in most offensive categories in the American League last season. Now, when you think about Kevin Cash and his time as the manager in Tampa Bay, he has been able to do more with less. And I think that is going to be a theme for the Rays this season. Can he find a way to pull out some magic and get this team to compete in this division? It's going to be a hard ask, though. I'll tell you like this: the Jays last year finished last in this division. I truly do expect them to be improved this year, and I truly do expect them to be in the mix to get to the postseason. Baltimore is going to be right there, but like I said, uh, the defections in free agency will hurt them. I truly do believe that the Red Sox will compete. The Red Sox will finish with a winning record, but I doubt that it's going to be enough for them to get to the postseason. I think the Yankees will find a way to win this division. It's not going to be a runaway because the Yankees have a lot of injuries that they have to deal with, especially in their rotation with Luis Heel and Garrett Cole. But of course, if you're the Yankees, you're hopeful that you get Luis Heel healthy at some point this season. I think what the Yankees are probably going to try to do, they're probably going to try to ride this thing out because nobody's going to make any trades right now. And I think what they want to see is how this team looks for the first couple of months of the season. And then from there, they can really hunker down and see what they need. But there's still plenty of talent there, both in the rotation and both in this lineup. And of course, Aaron Judge continues to be Aaron Judge, which is one of the best players in baseball. We're talking about a guy who has won 2 American League MVPs in the last 3 years. So once again, I think the road to the crown in the American League East will go through the Bronx. The Jays will be competitive. The Orioles will be competitive, as will the Red Sox. I think this race is going to be very interesting this year, but it's everybody looking up at the Yankees in the AL East. But, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to like this podcast as well as subscribing to this channel. Also, I talked about the NL West last night. Tonight, it was everything American League East. And just keep tuning into this channel for the next couple of days as I'll be giving you a division by division breakdown for the upcoming MLB season as well as my playoff projections. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, and you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.